What's up, everybody? We are back for another week of the Dragzine Podcast, and this week things get chaotic. I am your host, Senior Associate Editor Brian Wagner. On the other side, Chris Graves, the madman behind Funny Car Chaos. Chris, what is going on?
How you doing, buddy? We're doing good, man.
Doing good, doing good. Definitely awesome to have you on the show for sure for a lot of different reasons. It's cool for me because I've worked with you through Dragzine and through the industry and always kind of like admired your work as a photographer. And you're one of those people that a lot of others cite for your work and whatnot. And, we kind of touched on this briefly during the pre-show. And I always like to know the story, man. How did you get drawn into this industry?
Yeah, well, I grew up in a drag racing family. My grandfather and my dad were both definitely into drag racing and hot rodding in general. And we've got a 3-generation tradition of 55 Chevy ownership and, just kind of digging cars. And I grew up, pushing Hot Wheels through the stands at Texas Motorplex and, catching the late 80s, early 90s, all of the 90s of all the big show stuff. We'd go to several national events a year, and that got me hooked on Nitro and drag racing and the power, and it's been a full-time thing in my life for since I was born. That's kind of like all I really care about is drag racing.
So we're definitely almost cut from the same cloth, being the little track rat, being around cars. And it's funny that a lot of people, I think, that listen to the show and watch the show can identify with this, and other people as well, is that when you grow up that way, it's school and growing up and kind of becoming an adult, people sometimes don't know how to identify you. You don't know how to deal with other people because you are race car. That is not just a
Right.
personality trait. That's how you were raised.
Right. Oh yeah, man. I was the kid that, had the, Lori Johns t-shirts on and always wearing drag racing shirts and Eddie Hill stuff at school. And everybody knew, Chris likes drag racing, because I always wore a new team shirt every week. I never wore the Abercrombie or any of that kind of stuff. It was always drag racing shirts and, and I had a 67 Camaro in high school. I was the only kid in high school with a muscle car. Everybody had a 2020 or a 2000 Mustang or whatever, but it's a part of our life for sure. And it's a fun ride, man.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I've got the wall of fame behind me when I collected autographs as a kid. Got a bunch of others laying around, pictures all over the place, and it's like just this constant theme that I've noticed, and a lot of people identify with in all forms of the industry. Whether it's a big show professional racer I've interviewed, a bracket racer, is that the drag racing life consumes you in such a positive way.
Absolutely, man. It does. And it's great for kids to get involved. That's why, not to jump ahead, but like at Funny Car Chaos, we try to run juniors as much as we can. If I can make one junior kid go home telling his parents he wants to be a funny car racer, then it was worth it, and my wife grew up in junior dragsters and stuff. So getting them started early, and we just need to, we need to get NHRA to give us a junior funny car class. That's what I think.
Yeah, I mean they have. I've seen the mini funny cars. Actually saw one. This is kind of wild. I was watching videos for a story, and this dude was like showing this. Like, I started following through his channel, and it was a reverse run no prep race at Orlando Dragway that was quite literally run what you brung. And one of the vehicles running in this was one of those mini funny cars, and it was racing like Porsches, Camaros, motorcycles. I'm like, I've seen a lot of stuff, but that's a new one.
All right. Yeah, we had a couple of mini funny cars in Lufkin the year before last, and I've seen some junior funny cars running around. But yeah, get back at the topic. Getting the kids involved. That's what I love my racers, man, because they're so good at the kids. They've all got hero cards. They're all ready to sign autographs. They all put them in their cars. That's what it's all about. Lots of good pictures after every race from drivers hanging out with families and stuff. So,
oh yeah, it puts it honestly, like, that kind of stuff ties together it kind of marries well with what you see, honestly, with the Street Outlaws, the No Prep Kings thing. With they see how important that demographic and the families are, and they do so well tying it together. And outlaw org, I'm not gonna lump you in with outlaw organizations, but I'll say like non-big show organizations do that same thing where they make it very fan friendly, and I think that's very important for the sport's health.
Absolutely, man. We're not, there's no show without the fans, man.
No, totally. It drives me insane that promoters don't use all of the weapons in their arsenal to fill fill the staging lanes with bracket cars to help fill the time, give them a place to race, and put money in the purse. And then you have your big song and dance, your big, the people there to see match races and stuff like that. That's what puts the fans in the stands. They check that out. They see that they can bracket race. You complete the circle of life. You've created a fan and a racer all in one full swoop.
Sure. Yeah. There's no downtime, man. There's no reason for downtime. There should always be something going down the track and nonstop entertainment. If you run out of entertainment, you got to have something else. Well, we had a dozen midget Elvis impersonators at the Texas Motorplex. Andy Carter booked in there, and we've had we've always got something to throw in the stands. We got fireworks, we got whatever. We've had bands playing on the side of the track. I mean, it's entertainment.
That right there is like, if anybody from NHRA, any other organization is watching, they need to write that down right there, that you have to make a certain level of it entertaining to keep people's attention, plain and simple. Which I will say, well, what's your thoughts on this with what the NHRA does with like the that started out with Nitro School, then it's Pro Mod School and Pro Stock School and Pro Stock Motorcycle School? That's some pretty cool stuff that they do with that.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, that's great. I think that they're doing the best they can, and they're trying, and it's an evolution. Everything's an evolution, but anything anybody can do to get the younger generation involved, obviously, that's what's going to carry the sport forward through the next couple decades. So got to have it, or without them, put the video games down and get out and smell some burning rubber.
Speaking of the burning rubber and whatnot, you did a lot of time as a professional photographer, took some amazing images. I've used some of your images and stories. In your mind, is there anything that jumps out as one of those pictures you took that is like iconic, crazy? Like, I've got some crazy wheelies, some nitrous backfires, some cool stuff. Is there any in your mind that kind of cool pictures and stories to go with them?
Oh yeah, there's one that stands out. I wish I had a copy of it here with me, but I spent a few years part-time working on nitro cars, just cleaning oil pans and mounting tires and polishing 18-wheeler wheels and stuff like that. And, got to meet Mitch King through that journey, and he's out of Galveston, Texas, ran a Top Fuel car and a fuel altered. And it was 2009 at North Star Dragway here in Denton, Texas. And I was on a local radio show doing a Sunday radio show every Sunday, and he was my featured guest. And we had an Outlaw Fuel Altered Association race coming up in a month. And I had him on TV, or I had him on the radio, and I dared him to do a fire burnout. So I've been wanting to do a fire burnout forever. I had seen one done in 2001 at Fallen, Nevada, when Ricky Ruiz and the Nevada Rattler did a fire burnout, and that was awesome. And so I wanted to do it again. And so anyway, I got him to agree to do it. I called him out on the radio, and he said, "Oh, well, I guess I got to do it now." So that Friday night, we did a fire burnout, and we put plenty of gasoline down, and it lit up big time. And it lit up the back of the tire. It was spinning, and the fuel alter doesn't have body over the rear tire, so it shot the gas way up in the air. And what also ignited was the fumes from the pipes, and the raw nitro, I guess, somehow lit too. So it looked like it had header flames plus the fire burnout. And it's just this one frame of 9 shots that I got in that sequence. But that one frame had double header flames and the fire burnout all at the same time. And it's just this craziest photo I've ever taken. You couldn't take it again if you tried, but there's plenty of wheel stands and engine blow ups and all that kind of stuff. But that Mitch King bone bucket fuel altered fire burnout picture is definitely probably never going to be topped on my end anyway.
That's like the shots I got of guy with the 18-wheeler truck, Bob Moats up at the
Uh-huh.
up at Norwalk a few years ago during their first time I ever went to their night under fire, and it was when he was going to burn down the sign, and it was one of those
Right.
deals where right place, right time, like you're as a photographer, sometimes your spider sense kicks in and you're just like, just go with it, lay on the shutter and shoot. So I just, bang, 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 was shooting as much as I could. Didn't realize a lot of things, one of which was my position on the track where I thought I was in a safe spot, which I tell people as a photographer, you need to have an escape plan because you never want to know when things are going to go
Mm-hmm.
sideways. And I made a miscalculation. I thought I was like kind of like on the outside of the wall. I was on the inside of the wall. So if anything would have went sideways, I was not where I needed to be. And shooting jet
Right.
cars is a whole interesting experience in amongst itself, which I'll do it because I have to, but it's always in my mind. And then I started looking at the pictures afterwards. Like you said, you go through frame by frame. And the one shot I got was like everything was perfectly lit. And it just looks like the truck is like coming out of hell with all the flames behind it. And it kind of accidentally went viral. Norwalk used it in their Summit Motorsports Park, using their literature. It's just one of those pictures that jams out in your mind as, wow, I could probably never do that again if I tried.
Right. Yeah, man. Yeah. Sounds good. We'll have to compare, man.
Fuel altered.
I'll show you mine if you show me yours. Yeah.
Absolutely, man. And that fuel altereds are just cool no matter what. So I'm sure that image is like, I picture that in my mind running with like the old Diamond P like music, which that
Oh
leads,
yeah. Yeah.
that's going to lead into my first question I want to ask of you is, you have on your Funny Car Chaos website and a lot of the literature, the classic Steve Evans quote about funny cars, sometimes they shake, rattle, and occasionally roll, which is, if you know where that's from, you know where it's from. You got you've got the old Diamond P video cassettes in your library, which my dad still has at home, by the way. Why are funny cars so cool, man? Why are they so cool to you?
Man, I mean, yeah. I grew up watching Sesame Street and Decades of Thrills, and Steve Evans was like God to me. And I would just watch it over and over and over because I wanted to watch, at that time, those drivers were still driving. And I wanted to know more about what they had done before I was born, and just the long burnouts, dude. It's the dry hops, it's the big burnouts, it's the that body coming down, fumes coming from the pipes. It's just nothing cooler, man. I mean, don't get me wrong, Top Fuel is cool too, but there's just something about funny cars and just that tire smoking, ground pounding action, man. I mean, they're by far my favorite class, and as Steve Evans said, they're the most popular drag racing vehicle on the planet. But
for me, it's just like, I've always been a funny car fan. Top Fuelers were like thoroughbreds. They've always, like, to me growing up, they were refined, but funny cars, they were fun to watch because they were crazy. You didn't know what they were going to do. And watching, the old "And They Walked Away" videos and all those like old funny car videos, man, those dudes had their hands full. Like, no matter what, they were buckling in for a day at the office.
oh yeah, man, you got to drive them for sure. I don't want to see anybody go out there and blow up, but I guess what most fan appeal is, flying bodies everywhere and getting sideways and pedaling it and all that stuff. So
Yeah, people seem to forget. When funny cars used to go boom, back in the well, not call it the Stone Age, the more the fun age of nitromethane, when they used to blow a lot more stuff up more violently. Funny cars would turn they'd turn expensive bodies into confetti in a flash, literally.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thankfully, everything's a lot safer now, but there's plenty of old videos of all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's the beauty of YouTube, is we can go online and find it at our will and not have to rewind a VCR or skip back on a DVD
Right.
to watch it.
Yeah. You got to go to the antique store now to get a VCR player. So
Yeah, exactly. I've got one in the basement just in case. You never know if the world's going to completely end. You got to be prepared for any situation.
That's right. Yeah.
S-
Yeah.
s- Speaking of being prepared for any situation, I've got to hit our first sponsor here of this episode, Performance Distributors. They keep you prepared for spark. Well, what does that mean exactly? Their ignition systems are designed and manufactured under the most stringent of guidelines. In fact, owner Steve Davis told us that their systems are designed as if they are running in their own vehicles, because they are. One of the products you may already know of for them is their line of DUI distributors, the first and one of the best HEI distributors on the market. Their machine calibrated timing curves provide instant throttle response and eliminate engine damaging detonation. For those of you with late model vehicles, their Sultan of Spark ignition coils are based on DUI technology, so they can accommodate a wider spark plug gap while firing out more voltage. Make sure to check out performingdistributors.com to get all your ignition needs covered. Ignition is one of those things that definitely plays into some of those old funny car issues, which again is that's what's fun about old Nitro stuff is a lot of those dudes like to me it's like it's hard that like pioneer is a word that comes to mind is because they didn't have all this data technology. Like they were looking at spark plugs and main bearings to figure out whether their engine was happy or not.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah. And I think Dale Armstrong was the first guy that put a computer on a car or any kind of data acquisition on a funny car. Could be wrong, but I think that's right. But yeah, I mean, and I always tell people is like, no prep's been around forever because that's what those guys used to run on. I mean, there was no tire rotators. They were running top fuel cars on total junk. But back in those days, it was a different game, and you could smoke the tires all the way through the end, and you'd have two guys doing that side by side, and the crowd went wild. But as it's evolution, everything's advanced now. But yeah, they were, and a lot of my racers still do that. I mean, honestly, a lot of the funny car guys, they've got data acquisition, but it's not to the scale of anything like the big show. They're still absolutely reading their spark plugs and looking at bearings all the time.
Becoming a drag racing promoter isn't typically something that gets talked about during career day at school. Well, at least at my school, it wasn't. How did this kind of happen for you to go from a photographer to, oh, I run a drag racing promotion deal now?
Well, it was a 20-year journey, I guess. Me and my wife did the photography, Max Tackle photography for about 15 years and went to over 80 drag strips in that time. Went to from everything from the Bakersfield sand drags in the sand and out in SoCal to Toronto doing 4th of July shows and bracket races and car shows and all kinds of different stuff. So we took a job working at a track here in North Texas for several years and had a chance to do some events there and really liked the organization and execution of events. Was also affiliated in some management level type stuff for several series, nostalgia type series and stuff over the few years. And then me and my dad and started a nostalgia series here also in the Texas area that was very strong. So a lot of that, we saw a lot of drag races. We went to a lot of drag races. You saw, what went wrong at drag races and what could be better at drag races. And you also saw what went really well and the tracks that know how to do what they're trying to do. And those were, are things that you try to mimic, obviously. I've always thought very highly of Boise, the Firebird Raceway. Those guys put on a great show, the Night Fire Nationals. I went there for 10 years in a row doing event photos and thought that was, really awesome. Back in the good days of Cordova Dragways World Series, that was an awesome event. Scott Gardner, the March Meet's always awesome event. So getting to go to those races so many years in a row, applying that to what we were trying to do in Texas, having the ability to do my own events here in the Dallas area, kind of all morphed into this. I mean, at the end of the day, Funny Car Chaos was going to be a one race deal, possibly an annual deal. So it changed its course quickly and has now become our full-time gig. So
now What you just mentioned is awesome because it plays well into this next question. Is that it connected a few dots for me as well. Your series is kind of like an amalgamation of all the cool things of drag racing, in my opinion. And what kind of caught my eye is the A, B, and C field kind of deal that you guys do, and you can elaborate that on it here in a second. But how did you come up with the idea to do the A, B, and C fields, and why does it work so well?
I've always kind of been a no rules guy. I don't find it interesting to have a big rule book. I don't find it interesting to limit creativity on a build. And at that time, Funny Car Chaos 1.0 was happening. You didn't have 8 Nitro funny cars, 8 alcohol funny cars, 8 nostalgia funny. There was not enough to even have a class. You had to combine them to make a field, you know. But I've the Pro Mod Field Order Showdown's got no rules, and that's going into its 9th anniversary race this year. My affiliate series in the past have been very limited on rules. I'm always kind of a bring it to the track and let's run heads up 410s pro tree, let's get it. So I kind of just carried that over. But if you're going to do that, you have to create, a fairness level of some sort. And so qualifying them based on their performance after 3 qualifying rounds, you'll have 3 nitro cars, a twin turbo car, and 4 alcohol cars or whatever, all in the same field. But it doesn't matter because they all ran within a few tenths of each other, and it makes for good side by side racing. So that's the format we started with. That's the format that we've carried forward. Another critical key to that is how we award points. You are in the same amount of points whether you're an A, B, or C racer. We guarantee A and B fields at every race. We've been adding C fields this year so far at every race, thankfully with the support of many sponsors, to qualify 24 cars at every race instead of just 16, because we're averaging over 30 cars a race. And I'm another guy who I greatly believe in making sure everybody leaves home with at least some tow money and some hotel money or something, We do not do top heavy payout. We spread it out across the board. Everybody puts forth the same effort to get their car built. Everybody puts the same effort to get their car to the track. Everybody wants to do as good as they can. I don't need one guy leaving with 20 grand and everybody else leaving with nothing. So that's the payout formula we use. That's the structure we use. I had 3 cars with big block Chevrolets finish in the top 5 in points last year. And that is a great example of how the points concept and the fields are working for what it's, meant to be. Funny Car Chaos is not meant to be a side gig for top fuel funny cars. It's a grassroots series for grassroots racers going to grassroots racetracks, having grassroots fun. So, that's how we have to continue to appeal to a middle or low budget guy that wants to be a funny car racer.
Oh, and you guys have absolutely knocked it out of the park. I've watched a couple events on Flow, which thankfully Flow broadcasts now, so people like me that can't travel to some of these events, I get to watch them. And the best word that I can use to describe Funny Car Chaos, if I was, one word description, entertaining. That is exactly what I feel entertained. And I feel if I went to your event and I paid whatever the gate money was and I stayed the whole time, I was like, I feel like I got my money's worth. Because like you said, the multiple classes, the different combinations, you never know what you're going to see happen. And you're not honestly running on some of these tracks are old school tracks. You watch these cars go to the track, it's not a knock on the track. They're rough. They are not national event pool tables. It looks like I get to watch something from 1982. I'm seeing a 1982 body car race on this track. I'm like, this is what it's about. Shut up, take my money.
Right. Well, there's one thing about Funny Car Chaos is you never know what's coming to the line next. And it's a different combination of cars every time. It keeps you on your toes, man. I mean, I'm at the end of the day, like we said, we're both drag racing fans since we were born. Yeah, I got to put the races on and make sure everything's going all right. But at the end of the day, I'm glued to the starting line because I want to watch, because I'm a fan, and it is exciting. I mean, every pair is a thrill ride. You never know what's going to happen. And yeah, we cater to the grassroots racetracks, and some of them are old. They're several of them are really old, and they do their best to do with what they got. We try to, of course, prioritize safety wherever we go, and all those things are in place. But we do not run at the Texas Motorplex 8 times a year. We just went to the Motorplex and had the best race we've ever had, and everybody blew their career best out of the water, and we all expected that, and that's what happened, and it was awesome. We had a great time. The following weekend, we go to the next race is Amarillo Dragway. It's been there for 60 years, and they haven't touched it in 60 years. So, it was a totally different ball game, and it's fun to watch the teams adjust to making their cars, get down the track. I like that part of it. I like creating the challenge a little bit, and it makes it a lot less predictable than some of your other possible drag racing events you could want to watch, where you kind of know, unless this guy red lights or brakes, he's going to win. There's none of that at Funny Car Chaos.
Oh no, these guys can't pin their ears back and throw all the clutch at it and let it eat. That's how you're going to have a bad day at the office, which again, it makes it interesting. It makes the drivers drive, the variety. Like I did the story on that dude that's got the twin turbo funny car. You got, I saw you had a nitrous freaking funny car. I mean, that's like, to me, it's like, this is cool. Like I can watch this. This is what makes it interesting. And, your series is kind of a throwback to old school, just across the board. It's old school drag racing and the entertainment factor. You've got gassers. I mean, you guys, all kinds of cool stuff that comes. Do you think that's kind of what makes it popular and makes people gravitate towards it? It's a throwback to the old school stuff that it's not corporate drag racing?
Oh yeah, man. It's totally different vibe, dude. I mean, everybody's got hero cards. The cars all have names. That's huge. I understand big show racing takes big show money, and everything's got red tape, and you gotta, do whatever they say. But at Funny Car Chaos, every single one of these cars has a brand, has a name on it, not a brand. And the fans can relate and say, oh well, that's my favorite car. That's the Dragon Slayer. That's my favorite one. It's like the old monster truck days. Everybody knew Gravedigger, So, and that's what I've told these racers from the beginning. We're going to build you fan base, and that's what we want to do. We want the fans to want to buy your shirt and get your autograph and cheer for you. And so, all of that is part of the show for sure, but keeping it simple, man, it's a throwback, but it's what worked, and it's something new, and it's just, we're paving our own path, and that's what I wanted to do from the get-go. It doesn't do no good to do what somebody else is doing, because it's already getting done. You got to do something nobody's doing, and you got to do it your way, and you got to just work hard and put your head to the ground and dig. And with the support of just amazing racers, these guys and girls are just so supportive of what we're doing, and they're having fun. They just can't wait. I mean, they get in fights about who get to park next to their buddy. Save me a spot next to him because I don't want to park next to him. I mean, that's the only drama we have at Funny Car Chaos is friends messing with each other and stuff like that. It's just a great group of people, great group of sponsors, great group of tracks that we work with, and we got the fun meter peg, man.
So, what's something interesting or different or shocking that you've learned promoting races that might surprise people that either aren't in that aren't in the industry?
I mean, I kind of knew the things I've learned over the years being involved in putting on events is a lot of the stuff you don't think about. It's the stuff you don't see before the gates open and when the gates close. It's the stuff that happens overnight in between race days. I mean, the facility maintenance, and most people don't understand that drag races, you're working 3 months ahead of time on these races. And, race weekend's pretty easy. Your work's basically done. All you got to do is just have the race and go home. Your hours and hours of prep and organization and promotion have gone, 3 months ahead of time. So it's just that putting yourself in those shoes is something that most fans don't really understand because they've never seen it, or they don't know anybody that does it or whatever. But you got to make sure toilet paper's full. You got to make sure. I've plunged toilets at drag strips 1,000 times. I mean, when something happens, it's that oh gosh, you got to go get it done now, and you got to get it fixed, and we got to make it okay for everybody. And it's just that kind of running around, putting fires out all the time, and staying on schedule and trying to change run sheets because some guys broke or whatever. A lot of that whole deal, like, I don't know, I should put a GoPro on me and my wife and fast forward it, and it's crazy. I got 23,000 steps at the Texas Motorplex race, and believe me, that's far above my normal average. So
People don't understand that those garbage cans and porta potties don't place themselves.
yeah, they don't. I mean, it's just all that stuff. You got oil dumps and all. I got a checklist, but it's just that kind of stuff. I would say that for somebody who doesn't know a lot of that, and just being able to get the checklist done and then maintain some sort of control during the chaos, is quite an adventure. But I've literally plunged toilets and changed toilet paper multiple times. So
Speaking of controlled chaos, I've got the bucket list that I always talk about, that I tell people events you've got to attend. One of Ducks races, World Cup, Outlaw Armageddon, at least a big show NHRA race. And there's another one that I've always had in the back of my mind that I've wanted to attend myself, is the Fuel Alter versus Pro Mod event. Just for the simple fact that you have literally two of, the most intense four-wheel vehicles on their own racing are bad, but then you mix them together at one event. Let's talk about that for a second. What that's like to try to like put that whole deal together, because that's a whole lot of angry cars in one place.
Yeah, for sure, man. So like back in 02 and 03, or maybe it was 01 and 02, I was 17 taking pictures with a film camera at Lone Star Raceway Park in Sealy. And they had the Pro Mod versus Fuel Altered match race or showdown or something. And it was Outlaw Fuel Altereds versus Texas Outlaw Pro Mods. And so, I can't take credit for the thought, but I was at both of those races. And, Mitch King and Frankie Taylor went to the final round in the first one. Mitch crossed the center line and Frankie won. Second year, Frankie Taylor again for final round in Pro Mod, and Larry Reap in the Grim Reaper car was in the final. I forget what happened there. I think Frankie won that one also. But then it stopped, and I had spent years trying to get that race to come back. I'd talked to every track from Oklahoma to Houston, and none of them would, oh yeah, kind of sounds cool, but I don't think so, and I couldn't get it done, and nobody wanted to do it. And new owner came in at North Star Dragway and pitched it to him, and he was all over it. So we re-kicked off the deal in 2013 and finally got the race done. And it was, I was still affiliated, and we still are, of course, with the Outlaw Fuel Altereds. And it had 27 cars show up for 16 spots. But yeah, I mean, now we're going into our 9th year this June 25th, 26th at Extreme Raceway Park in Ferris, Texas, is the 9th annual Pro Mod Fielder Showdown. It's awesome, dude. I mean, you think, well, that's not going to work. That's not fair racing, but it actually is extremely close, and it works out unbelievably to watch. I mean, another deal where you don't know you can't predict any pair that's on the starting line. The whole event, the whole time, you're on the fence going, what is next? Who is going to win this one? Last year we broke the world record, Warwagon, Shane Ferris and Kevin Kinsley, and then ran the quickest elapsed time ever in a Fuel Altered to the 8th mile with a 3:44. Wes Buck was there. He was tripping. It was a good time. But Frankie Taylor and these boys and everybody, I got cars coming from Missouri, Albuquerque, New Mexico, Oklahoma, everywhere, Illinois. It's Kansas. I mean, they come because it's fun. It's not like, again, it goes back to just do something that, ain't been done yet, and don't worry about trying to copy somebody or whatever. Just do it and make it work and work hard. And if it doesn't work, okay. But if it does, then cool. And the Pro Mod Fielder Showdown thing has definitely been an exciting race. And it's one, for the bucket list, like you said.
Oh, like I got to shoot when the good guys still did a lot of their drag racing stuff at some of the events. And they've had it where they've had like the Fuel Altereds show up in like the old school ones, the freaking death traps with, a Honda Civic wheelbase with a freaking nitro engine on the front of it. Those guys got a screw loose.
Right.
And even like the modern fuel altereds, these like it's so funny to watch these things try to go down the track because the driver is literally wrestling a nitro powered drift car down the track. It's and big header flames, full nitro. It's awesome to watch.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. Yeah, and it's another one of those no rules races, dude. I mean, we don't there's tons of rules in pro mod, and it's like, well, forget that. This weekend you can do whatever you want. I don't care what you weigh, I don't care how much blower, whatever the rules are. I'm not even sure what rules are in pro mod, but they don't matter at pro mod fuel altered, and neither do they matter for fuel altered class either. It's come on and get it, man. We're gonna run heads up. Let's see who can flex the most muscle. Come on.
And again, you get the like someone like Frankie Taylor who is I love Frankie. He's like you never like you call it he's called the madman for a reason. And like just seeing how he approaches stuff like just the you see his gears turn like, oh, we can make that work. Like, no, wait, okay, screw blower, you got it. Let's do this. It's nuts to watch.
Yeah. Last year he was in the final with Kevin Kinsley, and I remember him saying, he said, I'm coming next year, but I'm coming with a different package because I'm in Pro Mod legal trim or whatever class legal trim that he was in. He said, I'm coming no rules next year. So who knows? Well, hopefully he comes back this summer, and who knows how much over the rules package he may go.
Every only weight enough to keep the car weight biased on the track. Whatever pulley will let it live, 670 feet, and that's it.
Right.
Yeah. And a couple of racks of rods and pistons, maybe an extra crank if he needs it. Just pull the pin and throw the grenade.
Right. Yeah. And it's interesting to watch those cars, dude, because most of the fuel altereds are clutch cars. Most of the pro mods are leaving off buttons, I think, and everybody's like, well, it's not really fair or whatever, but it ends up being fair, and it ends up being very entertaining. And fuel altereds tend to be a little bit faster. Most of the fuel altereds are a little faster, but it depends on how good of a pro mod crop we get. Some years have been a little slim. Some years we've got some hitters, and I'm hoping this year we got some hitters. And when you get 10 or 12 or 14, maybe even more cars that can run on each side of the ladder at 380 or better, that's good racing.
And tuning nitro cars is definitely an art more than a science, because there's a lot of factors going on there to try to get those things down the track, let alone something with a short wheelbase and that engine that that just wants to rip itself apart. The clutch package you got, tuning for the track, tuning for the atmosphere. There's a lot that goes to it. So having a consistent car is not an easy task.
Yeah, there's no Davis boxes on fuel altereds.
No, it's it's like that scene in Black Hawk Down. Where's your safety? This is my safety. And
your right foot's your only safety.
Yeah, their right foot is the Davis box. That's literally it.
Yeah.
We got to hit up our other sponsor here real quick, ProCharger. For 25 years, ProCharger has been the industry's leading aftermarket supercharger manufacturer by designing, engineering, and building the most powerful, reliable, and advanced centrifugal superchargers on the market. No matter if you're looking for 3,500 horsepower for a record-setting pro mod or a DIY system for your street car, truck, or motorcycle, ProCharger has the perfect system for you. For more information about ways you can bolt on 50, 60, 70, or even 100% more horsepower, visit ProCharger.com. Which, again, you might see some ProCharge Pro mods there. It'd be fun to see I don't think you'll see it, but to see one of those guys show up and go unlimited, because they don't want to get their hands smacked by any of the sanctioning bodies any more than they already have.
Hey, man. Nobody's smacking hands at any of my races. You can bring a ProCharge funny car, whatever you want to do, man.
Now that would be interesting. A ProCharge funny car. That would be wild to see.
Sure. Come on. Put it together. Bring it out.
Somewhere Larry Larson is going, look at it as tube rack. Looking at a spare engine. I got an idea. on
Yeah,
Racing Junk looking for a body. That would be interesting to see.
absolutely. Come on.
Now, I want to get your take on this. What do you think drag racing in general needs to do to make it a top tier spectator sport again? And what I mean by that is, again, watching what we used to watch, seeing grandstands, sort of like NASCAR, full to the brim, the fence full to the brim. What does drag racing need to do at all levels to really bring that back at big venues?
Well, I don't know. There's a lot. That could be a long conversation. But there's a lot more that drag racing's competing with now too. I mean, in those days, there was no internet, there was no cell phones, there was no, all this stuff. There's way more stuff now, and there's a lot more entertainment going on. So you got to give credit to that at some point. It's like, well, sorry, this weekend I got the Garth Brooks concert, or I'm going roller skating or whatever it is. I think there was just maybe a lot less to do. I mean, back in those days, Hot Rod Magazine was killer, and that was it. And they had, everybody knew when the next drag race was coming to town, and because it was on the radio. But so I don't know. I mean, there's also twice as many people in the world as there was back then. So you could do pros and cons all the time. I mean, I think it's good. It's not such doom and gloom as some people. You see people just bashing NHRA all the time, and oh my God, this sport's over with and all this. That's just not reality if you know what you're looking at. But there's not a lot that really, the sport is evolving just like everything else in life. And so, yeah, there's a whole lot more electronic type drag racing going on, and tuning programs and stuff, and small tire racing. I mean, that's a whole new deal, and all this other stuff that has been an evolution from other classes. And so drag racing's fine. I mean, are the stands completely packed on TV every time you turn on an NHRA national event? No. But how to fix that, I don't know. That's not my problem. But our stands are pretty crowded, and we like going to small racetracks and stuffing them to the gills. And I think drag racing's in good shape. I don't think that we have a big crisis coming forward here. I think that it's going to continue to evolve like it has been, and gain interest in certain ways. And I mean, people love street outlaws, people love small tire, people love pro mods. I'm a guy who likes top fuel cars, nitro cars, and nitro Harleys, and pretty much nitro anything. But I still watch the other kinds of racing, and I still am interested in who won stuff and whatever. So as long as you can keep people's interest in some kind of fashion of the sport, these younger kids, obviously they're more in tune with Mustangs and computers and laptops on their hood and stuff. That's not my jam. But it's good that they're there, and it's good that they're interested in drag racing, and it's good that they're creating a market for companies to sell those products, and keep the whole ball rolling here, the whole drag racing evolution ball rolling. I mean, it's all good, man. I think drag racing's in fine shape.
I think that's a very solid take on that. 100%. I think that's very, very spot on. My reasoning behind that is I like to get people's opinions on that and kind of see what they think. And I would agree that there's a lot of more, I hate to use the word distraction, but options out there for people, and that the sport is a lot broader than what it used to be. Because it used to be pretty much NHRA big show racing, your local track, that was it. And
Right.
now, I mean, there's so many different options for you to go to check out races anymore. I hate to use the word dilute, but it spreads everything out where maybe you won't see those massive crowds for multiple days straight. But then on the flip, like I said, the flip side of that, you go, people scream NHRA is dying. And then I look at some of these events, and they're selling out a lot more events than what they used to, for sure, in different markets.
Yeah. I mean, dude, I'm in Dallas, where there's 4 drag strips there's probably 6 or 7 drag strips if you count the unsanctioned ones, within 3 hours of where I'm standing right now. And so, where are you going to go? I got 7 tracks I can go to watch a drag race. Well, that goes back to the, track owners need to work together, and everybody needs to be on the same page. Of course, we all know sometimes that doesn't work out, but there's a lot to choose from, like you said. And you just, on my end of things with Funny Car Chaos, I try to make sure that we're not back to back with some big event that the track had a week before or a week after or whatever. But yeah, there is a lot more to do. You're right about that. There's a lot of drag racing going on. I mean, there was a huge grudge race 20 minutes away from the Nitro Madness at the Motorplex in March, but both tracks had a great crowd. Both tracks, everybody was happy. Two totally different audiences, two totally different choices of entertainment for drag racing, but they were both successful, and that happens a lot. So it's whatever your cup of tea is. Come take a sip.
Oh, totally. And I pretty much any form of drag racing I'm into. I can deal with, can I sit there and watch all 16 rounds of a big dollar bracket race? No, can't do that. Can I go to a big bracket race and maybe find a couple of cool cars to check out and shoot some features on? Absolutely. But I can't spend all day there. Now, a new bucket list event I'm adding is like Bo Butner's Southern Sportsman Nationals, where it's nothing but stock and super stockers. I like legit. That's my drag racing heaven right there. Like I could sit there for 18 hours and hang out at a track and shoot and watch stock and super stockers. That would be. You'd have to remind me to eat, drink, and possibly breathe.
Right. Yeah. And that's, those are some of the most specialty races that are the ones that are kind of, standing out, obviously. Ducks races I've been to several of those. Those are cool. So, I think having a creative approach and just believing in what you're doing, and it comes down to hard work. I mean, anybody that's putting on a successful drag race, first thing, you got to work hard. It doesn't just happen, you got to bust your ass.
Dude, Woodstock, I got to go cover that event, and I don't get to go. I've never been to like a big, like what I consider a big no time kind of deal. That event mixes the both of no time and class racing, which I don't think a lot of class racers were there because of the timing of it. Tyler's race being right after, and then there was, a couple big pro mod events on that weekend. But it happens. But again, like the no time show took it to that next level there, and like I'm like, all right, cool. I want to go check out more no time races now, just because of the atmosphere and like it's good racing. And that I think that's again, it circles back to the one word description of Funny Car Chaos: entertainment. You have to entertain the people in the stands.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yep. So it's all about. I tell the drag race, I tell these, the track owners we work with and anybody that asks me, it's like, you own a drag strip. You don't really own a drag strip. You own an entertainment facility. It's not a drag race. This is a show. This is not a drag strip. This is an entertainment facility. If you don't look at it that way, you're going to be off course about what you're doing.
Very good point to that. The Bader family, I hold every track that I go to what I call the Norwalk standard because of how well they treat people, how well the facility is run. I mean, it is like, it is what you can have a nice facility, but if you don't run it right, that's not good, or you run it right in your place. But I got to sit in and when I covered it, to be in the media center when he brought in everybody for the Night Under Fire. And they have a script. He calls them the cast. He talks in entertainment terms and how they are going to do everything. And then you think, well, that's kind of, it's a drag race. And then you look and there's 40 freaking thousand people in the stands at Norwalk, and the place is the most packed you've ever seen. And it is packed from the second they start the show until the second Bob Motes is done burning the backstop down. Everything clicks at that point because they're entertained and they're like, it's hard to put into words how crazy that event is.
It is, dude. Yeah. I actually got to go one year working for Tony Pedregon. They booked Tony Pedregon in, and I was on the crew at that time. And that event kind of rocked my world. It's like, whoa, this is bigger than a national event. And there's way more stuff going on than a national event. And I liked this a whole lot more than a national event, and that and the World Series and the March Meet and Night Fires in Boise and all these, Bowling Green, Kentucky Hot Rod Reunion Deal is another cool event. I like nostalgia stuff, but those non-cookie cutter approaches like Baiters have and like these other people have with their events, that's absolutely influential in what I'm doing.
Totally. Now, the only thing that would be, you got Funny Car Chaos. There needs to be like Nostalgia Pro stock mayhem. That's another thing we need to see because I love Nostalgia Pro stock cars, dry hops. Got to be a clutch car. That absolutely they got to bang gears. That's another cool. When you speak of nostalgia, that's some cool stuff.
Yeah. Now you're onto something, man. We can we'll put a side gig together at one of these chaos races and do a Nostalgia Pro stock chaos class.
Don't threaten me with a good time because
let's do it.
You mix that in, you do some Nostalgia Pro mods. I mean, and again, it comes down to the entertainment factor of, people within a certain generation are like, it tugs at your heartstrings. Oh, back in the day, that was cool. That was awesome. And then you get the new people that might be in the street outlaws and you say, it's like a YouTube related video. Oh, you like that? Well, why don't you check this out? And then like their mind's blown. They're like, wait, this is a thing. Changes their outlook.
Sure.
One of the last things I always like to pose with my guest, I've started to do, is that I have a magical power here on the Dragzine Podcast. I have a checkbook that I can open up to my guests that grants all of their wildest financial dreams for the sport of racing. This time, however, I am going to give the keys to you, Chris, and open up the checkbook, and you can now create the perfect event as a promoter. It could be, we'll go with, if you want to use the Funny Car Chaos model, you can do whatever you can, but you have an open checkbook to do whatever you want at whatever facility you want. Where are you going to book? What are you going to book? What's this event going to be? That dream event that you think about when you're mowing the lawn and you're trying not to be bored and you're like, I would do, what pops in there?
Yeah, man, an unlimited checkbook. I'd have to build my own drag strip first. And it would, have all sorts of crazy amenities that is not reality, like, temperature controlled stuff and, covered a dome so that we can't get rained out, first of all. But it'd be a lot of nitro, dude. I'm telling you, man. It would be like, 500,000 to win, fuel altered, top fuel, funny car, whatever. It would be nitro and a lot of nitro.
So we're going to take the nitro, but we're going to add more nitro.
Right. It's kind of like Nitro Chaos. We got our first Nitro Chaos race coming up this year that me and Gerald Kramer at Eddyville Raceway Park have partnered in on. And this race is just like Funny Car Chaos, but it's only for cars with 80% nitro or more. So front engine, top fuel, rear engine dragster, funny car, fuel altered. I've been trying to get these guys with these Nitro Pro mods. Come on, man. It's 10 grand to win. Good money, lots of fun. So I'm kind of doing this race already, but we're in reality. But it is called Nitro Chaos, and we're doing it this summer in July. But so I guess if I had unlimited budget, I would just do Nitro Chaos on like this crazy scale.
Oh, that sounds like heaven on earth, especially you start getting the Nitro door cars, because I know Marty Chance has got that one that they're playing with, and then Scott Palmer's tries to give the NHRA a heart attack on a regular basis with his car. So you talk with him about that, and it's so funny to hear the stories around it, that the NHRA looks at that car and they want to crawl into the fetal position, I think, because that thing violates so much that they want to try to control. And Scott, it's like he just, it's like that Ralph Wiggum meme where it says, haha, I'm in danger. He doesn't understand. He's like, yeah, we're just gonna let this thing eat and see what happens.
Right. I love Scott, man. He's a good dude, and he's not gonna let nobody keep him from having fun. That's for sure.
Oh no, I mean, yeah, that's the understatement of the day. And I would imagine what would happen in Glendale if there is a 300-mile-per-hour door car roaming the earth.
Yeah.
Like
that's going to happen one day.
Oh, totally. They're going to get that thing to work, and it's going to go 300, and like, just it's going to be insanity. It's going to be the good kind of insanity.
Yeah, yeah. First to 300. There's not a lot left of that, but we did that at Nitro Madness at the Motorplex in March with Richard Hartman and Tim Wilkerson and Kevin Kinsley and Shane Fierce, and them both ended up going 300 in fuel altereds, and first to the fours as well for Hartman, and two huge milestone fuel altered that basically closes the book on any kind of major performance level after that. All you can do is just go quicker and faster at that point. But speaking of 300, so pro mods and door slammers are next, man. We got to get them into 300.
Oh yeah, that would be just delicious. And yeah, the whole Hartman thing, I've talked to a few guests about that, and I've talked about it on other podcasts. That's really kind of been a big deal. And I was on a bracket racing podcast and we talked about that. They're like, "What do you think of that?" I'm like, "That's probably one of the coolest things you're going to see this year." That I think their reaction to that run, where everybody was like, "We weren't expecting that, but that was fun." That was kind of wild.
Yeah, man, it was great. It worked out so good. That was an awesome race. Motorplex staff was awesome. For Wilkerson and Hartman to come, and they came because they wanted to come. I mean, they weren't like, "Hey, man, give me 20 grand and I'll come." They came because they wanted to be there. And the War Wagon guys and Kevin Kinsley are the same way, and they've been wanting to run as fast as that War Wagon fuel altered's badass, and they've just never had the facility or the ability to let it eat, and they've never been able to go quarter mile. And I mean, just that car to run 300, and it's just so awesome. And at Motorplex, your scoreboard's a single display line, so you got to wait for the mile an hour to come up after the ET. And when they ran that, you're sitting there looking at the ET, and it's like, well, that was fucking fat or freaking fast. But boom, there goes the speed 300. And I mean, the crowd just started screaming, and it's just a really cool moment for me and everybody that was there. And props to them guys, both of them. They were just awesome.
Yeah, because there is a very limited amount of facilities that you would even dare to try to do that at. Because again, it comes down to how gnarly those cars are, that you need the safety factor, you need the surface, and you need the shutdown. That
Yeah.
it's going that fast is the easy part. The next terrifying one is when you bang those chutes. Are like, all right, am I going to run out of real estate or not? And doing it in one of those cars is just. I've photographed Hartman's car at the Detroit Autorama, and like now looking back at that, to think that car went that quick and that fast, it's like, wow, that's nuts.
Yeah, major cojones, man.
Yeah, that's there are certain vehicles that when you talk to racers that they say that I would never try to be a part of. Nitro Harleys, Pro Mods, Fuel Altereds are the three things that like varying degrees of racers will say, I don't want any part of.
Right. Absolutely, man. Yeah.
Well, Chris, our time here is coming to the end on the Dragzine podcast, and I like to allow my guests to channel their inner John Force and go back to those Diamond P moments where they get to thank all their sponsors and tell, we add in that you get to tell people where to find you at and whatnot. So I'm going to turn the floor over to you so you can thank all your sponsors, tell people where they can learn about Funny Car Chaos, what you got going on, the events, the whole deal. So do your sales pitch, do what you got to do. The floor is yours, my friend.
Yeah, right on. Thanks, man. So, Spell Paving Services is our title sponsor. Intech Oil, Mears Mazda Volvo, Redline Shirt Club, Stupid Fast Racing, all our primary sponsors this year for our fourth annual championship tour. NitroChaos.com. You can find out about Nitro Chaos coming up in July at Eddyville Raceway Park. FunnyCarChaos.com website, Facebook, Funny Car Chaos. Easy to find, lots of fun. Love to have you out. Come check it out. Take a road trip with us. Bring your RV. Tickets are $20. We don't get greedy. We put on a show. We love to have you.
I am going to start something new right here, right now. Funny Car Chaos gets the imaginary Dragzine stamp of approval. Something that, adding it to further to the list of things that people need to check out. I'm going to see if I can find a way to con Wolf and to let me go to the Pro Mod Fuel Altered race. I got to figure that one out, but definitely want to check that out for sure. I got to thank our sponsors, of course, AFR, Performance Distributors, and Pro Charger. We got more sponsors coming. I'll thank those in the future once we get everything finalized. But Chris, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was a pleasure having you.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate your time.